73. If you're in the chat room on Wolf Spirit Radio, which is wolfspiritradio.com/wolf chat, please post questions in uppercase letters, in capital letters. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Well, this is Wolf Spirit Radio, and working with Dave Corso this morning, doing a little healing on Dave to help him regenerate his heart system, remove the waste material from the body. So we invite everyone who's listening to tune in and focus your attention on Dave now. Give him life force and support of this all-important person, and all-important in that he is the key coordinator and supplier of the equipment that allows us to contact thousands of people around the earth every day. So now it's time for us to give back to Dave, because he gives so unselfishly to us. Now we can give back and nurture and support Dave to bring his life force up and maintain the wonderful job that he's doing for us. Okay, Dave, can you feel anything happening?
My heart feels very warm.
All right, sustain, sustain, sustain. Well, now we turn our attention to the greater Earth and problems of Earth and Earth mind. I reviewed Earth this morning, and what I got actually was accolades for the work we are and have been doing, and the work that we're doing in the future to maintain Gaia and to strengthen the human awareness of Gaia and our responsibility to maintaining, protecting all things of nature, and to maintain the evolutionary process through the earth mind and in our physical reality. And that's the objective of this show, is to help people not only to understand that we are co-creators of Earth, but we are responsible for it, and to recognize our unified power and ability to enhance the world and all the living organisms of the world. Just as we just did a healing on Dave individually, we can expand and express that healing intent out around the entire world. And I see that happening now. My hands are still incredibly hot. We'll extend that healing desire around the world to nurture all creatures, all organisms, all life forms, particularly where they're in stress from the radiation or drought. We go back in time to when nature was in balance, and we bring that forward in the standing waves to this moment of now and on out into the future as we see Earth harmonize and come back into natural balance again, sustained by the entire life force of all living things. And so it is. Well, we're having a beautiful day here in the Pacific Northwest. Another little storm worked its way in. We had a great weekend of storms on Monday and Tuesday here. We got almost half an inch in places and 3/4 in others. Did California pick up any moisture this weekend?
No, it didn't, but there's rain coming supposedly on Saturday.
All right. Let's take a moment now to reach out and touch that rain, that front that's out in the Pacific. It's just forming up out there. And in order to get it to move into California, it requires shifting that high pressure ridge to the south. We just see that, visualize that happening now as our unified desire and will and intent works directly with the devic forces of Earth And our intent is to move this weather pattern south far enough with enough rain to help the drought and to help fill up the reservoirs, and yet in such a steady manner that it doesn't cause more slides or doesn't do damage to the growing crops. Okay, that feels good. Not just doing that, it takes us in, the ones who are habitually work with us, and takes you directly into the expanded consciousness. But for anyone new, we'll go through the process of induction. So take your awareness up into your forehead, and just step right straight back into the soul center. As you feel yourself unified with the group mind consciousness of the Earth Mind Think Tank group. Now move back a step deeper to the pineal area. And here we unify in the psychic grid. And we've been doing work with the pyramidal grid. And so let's take our attention to the pyramidal grid and reinforce the thought form that the resonant subconscious energy of Earth Mind that it is in contact with, it is resonating love and peace and harmony into the world rather than the domination forces that overwhelmed and programmed it something like 20,000 years ago. Projecting love and peace and harmony into the consciousness of the earthquake, of the pyramidal grid. Now we hold that as we drop our awareness on down the spine, unifying with Earth Mind, and holding our intent to bring peace and harmony into the earth through the pyramidal grid. We take our attention to Southern California and into the earthquake grid there. And just tune in, become one, and you'll feel this in your root chakra, extending down into earth. There's a splatter of small 2s and 3 earthquakes in that region. Lift that energy before the earthquake has a chance to release. Lift it up your spine, out through the crown chakra, out through oversoul, into the ionosphere and the golden grid we've created. And extend this energy around the world, willing the golden grid to resonate back into earth, the peace and harmony that the pyramids are broadcasting on earth. So between the negative polarity and the positive polarity comes the manifestation in the physical awareness and form and consciousness of all human beings.
I knew Frank was going to get that phone call this morning.
Yeah, always wakes us up. All right, back to it again. Feeling the peaceful balance as our own energy and intent is amplified by the energy of the earthquake, of Earth Mind. Now move your awareness further up the San Andreas Fault, through San Diego, on up to San Francisco. A lot of minor shifting, full length of the San Andreas Fault system. And that's good. That's what we want, is that even harmonious release as our conduits expand into the consciousness of earth mind, lifting those energies upward into the golden grid, all the way up to the California-Oregon line. Quite a bit of activity just off the coast, which indicates that the southern plate is moving northward and introducing and lifting the San Juan de Fuca plate. That in turn is pressing into the coastline and creating some activity in the ancient volcanoes of the Cascade Range. So we lift that energy, and we feel that as the harmonious release that we've created through that entire region. Holding that, shift your awareness eastward to the Rocky Mountains, and primarily the Yellowstone caldera. Lift the caldera energy, release the excess vibrant energy that would transmute into heat and cause an eruption. We're translating that energy into the golden grid. And we feel that relaxation, that signals that we've accomplished that. There's 3.5 in Lincoln, Montana. So that's in the crust of the Rocky Mountain thrust zone. Lift that upward. Now take your awareness northward to the Alaska. And there's it looks like a shotgun blast hit south central Alaska, just above the convergence of the Gulf, the Pacific plate and the Alaskan plate. Steady release in minor earthquakes, and that's what we want. Lift that energy upward. Tremendous amount of energy moving there all the time. Now move your awareness down the Aleutian chain. 5.4 east-southeast of Adak. But that is kind of dampened down through the Aleutian chain this week. Now go westward to Russia, the Kamchatka Trench, stretching down to Japan, where it becomes the Japan Trench. A lot of activity between the trench, which is about 200 miles outside of Japan, and the coast of Japan, which means an uplift occurring there. Lift that energy upward. Wrap it around the releasing radioactivity in a spiral of energy. Lifting, releasing. And those of you who are extremely energy sensitive, it's interesting to feel the relaxation that occurs in those stress zones as we do this. And move your awareness on down into the Taiwan, between Taiwan and the Philippines. And on south to the Indonesian crescent that parallels the Java Trench, the subduction zone there. Only minor and mid-range activity. Now move eastward to New Guinea and the ongoing release that's occurring 96 kilometers southwest of Panguna. And on over to the Solomon Islands, further releases along that major fault line. Now down the Tonga Trench to New Zealand, where we see no activity, but we tune into it and lift any stress that is hanging up there in that trench that runs right through the center of New Zealand and down the western coast. When I tune into that, I don't feel any sharp spikes of energy, except on the north side around Auckland. Lift that upward. Now move eastward across the Pacific to South America. Major activity on the Peru-Chile Trench in northern Chile. And some inland in Argentina. Central America. In Central America, we have a scattering of activity. To release that. There's a 7.2 north-northwest of Tecpan de Galena, Mexico, south of Mexico City. Lift that upward. Now move eastward to Puerto Rico. There's increased activity all over the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, indicating a major upthrust in the St. Kitts and Neva fault lines. Now we move across the Atlantic to the Mediterranean area. Only minor activity occurring in Albania and some in Greece. And that one in Greece is volcano that's waking up around Nafpatkos in southern Greece. Now we move eastward. No activity in China. Now move on across the Pacific to our point of beginning and move into the central states around Oklahoma. And that ongoing disruptions that are caused by the fracking energy. You lift that energy up and bring with it, with the stress, bring the pollutants, transmuting the pollutants. Now we go to the San Madrid Fault. That runs clear up through the central portion of the country, paralleling the Mississippi River, the New Madrid Fault Line. That's an ancient, deep fault line, but it has movement and can cause incredible destruction. There's activity at Clinton, Arkansas. He must have rolled over in bed. Now bring your awareness back to our point of beginning. Lift your energy upward into your own systems, up to the psychic center. Extend your awareness outward through the human grid now to all of those who are managing the financial revaluation of the world's currencies. This is teetering right on the edge of being completed. So whatever's holding it up, let's kick it over the edge. See it happening now. The world financial structure revamping, eliminating the fiat money system, seeing the rise of the gold-backed system, giving security to our money and so it can't be manipulated by the bankers. And to do this, let's release the consciousness, the greed consciousness, the domination consciousness of the banking system. Lift it up and release. That's the primary tool that the Illuminati use to control the world. And the second thing we want to do is take our awareness to Rome, the center of the Catholic religion, and the edict that was brought to our attention by Gary this morning, where the Christians of the world are disenfranchising the Catholic Church. And towards that means extend the awareness of that edict into our grid of consciousness, the consciousness grid, extend it out through the entire electronic system of the world, prompting people to release their dependence on the Catholic Church for spirituality, which indeed was just acceding to domination. Shifting instead to the inner awareness that God dwells within, and we have direct contact with God every moment. because we are the expression of God and expressing as humans. We don't need the Catholic Church or any other major religion to tell us what is right or wrong, or to instill fear or control. So extend that through the grid now, and spark each person to reach within to that spirit center in the heart and feel that touch of light that manifests and holds everything in form. So everyone has a true connection with God, a personal communication and a personal awareness with the Creator. And to do this, feel the galactic flow open up, pour down through your system. That is the expanded consciousness of the God force as it works through the galactic system. We focus that awareness into our communication web, the internet web, and through the earth mind web, and our psychic web, all nurtured and empowered by the golden web. Particularly, we see the pyramids reflecting our higher consciousness and love and harmony and peace through the crystalline consciousness of the pyramid web. Now feel all levels of the intensity of our desire, and the desire of the God force, desire of the galactic force, all focusing to bring the shift of consciousness that will eliminate the bankers, the religions, and all those forces that affect our education systems. We see incentives around the entire world, particularly through the Muslim regions. We feel that force intensifying now. As we resonate peace and harmony and dominion in all levels of consciousness through all communication systems. And we feel the heavy frequencies of the domination force dissolving, transmuting into dominion. And you have only to look to yourselves to see how well we're faring in the world shift. If you feel any heaviness in your heart at all, bring down a flow of love and joy into your heart to lift the vibrational frequencies, release the resonance with the domination force of the world. And we resonate dominion. Particularly incorporate all the life force of every creature having DNA that desires harmony and peaceful coexistence with mankind. We recognize we are the caretakers of all living things on earth, and as we give to them, so shall we receive our own nurturing and life force. Now bring your awareness back to yourselves. And just as we used the Christian force on Sunday to enhance and carry our message around the world, now we use all religions, shifting the consciousness of all religions to express what they espouse to be in truth and in harmony and love, in dominion rather than in domination and fear. And we see the world shifting. Now we direct our unified intent to David Corso's heart and the systems of his body that to stimulate the heart to pump more efficiently, 100%, removing the fluid from his body, revitalizing his health and well-being through the power of the Christ within us. We see it, and so it is now. All right, bring your awareness back into your own systems, up through the chakra system to the psychic center, out through the third eye to your frontal lobes, and come back into full consciousness and harmony with Earth and with each other and with all of mankind. And so in peace and love and good health, we welcome you back, Dave. Are you there? All right, we'll come up now. David, are you with us? Well, I do hope we didn't choose this moment to transcend. It would be very awkward.
You be funny.
Yeah. All right. Any messages from the rest of you? Catherine, how are you today?
I am fabulous. The energies are incredible, meaning that I'm using them for good and positive, and whatever I hear or see, I just am. I am all, and I'm choosing to be all love.
And you're walking in the light.
As everyone is, we just need to take our glasses off at times.
Any comments from anyone? How are things in Hawaii, Rich?
They're very good. My wife is healing, and I keep meeting more and more interesting people here that are doing similar things that we are. And I have a class that I've started with about 8 people, and people are learning what we're doing, teaching subtle energy. And so I'm hoping eventually I can bring some more people maybe into our group, or maybe start a parallel group in the future. There are some people here that have some pretty good abilities. They just need to learn how to do it. It takes practice. So everything looks pretty good here. Of course, we've got our challenges, but, that's what we're here for.
Have you introduced them to Wolf Spirit Radio and our programs?
Some of the people I have, some of them are not quite ready for it yet. They're still trying to process what subtle energy is. So I figure by the time I have 4 more weeks of teaching, by the time I get done with that, they'll be at a place where they could probably come in and listen and understand what we're doing.
Rich, are you the gentleman in Hawaii who was doing work liberating souls that were stuck to parts of the land?
That's what I'm doing here, yes. Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of souls left here. There's a lot of energy that needs to be released from this island. And so it's quite a project. I've been kind of sidetracked the last few weeks with a lot of issues, but getting back on track again. Learning more and more.
I'd like to remind everyone of Rich's book that he's written. Is that available on Amazon, Rich?
Yes, it's available on Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com. Yeah.
Give us the details.
Well, the name of it is Subtle Energy and the World We Experience by Rich Ralston. And I believe it sells for $13 or $14. You can buy the ebook for $3.50 if you just want to download it. And it basically takes us through a lot of the stuff that we're doing here. My emphasis in the book is deprogramming yourself from any kind of organized group consciousness that's not beneficial to you any longer. And like what we were trying to do today with tying in with the religious organizations. Mm-hmm. And it works. It works really well.
Let's comment on that more. Gary, thank you for sending that website to us that talked about the release of the Catholics from being responsible for Christians. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, the Kevin Annette and his group that are pulling this off are been working at it for quite a while, and they've uncovered proof of all the crimes, a lot of crimes that they've committed with children in the Indian schools in Canada, mainly, and they've got witnesses of, Ratzinger, the ex-pope there, being a pedophile and torturing children and all that really terrible stuff that you just don't believe when you hear it. And it seems like, these guys have done it. And it's based on common law, the law of the people, not admiralty law and all these trick deals that these controllers, these dominators have been using to hoodwink us for, the past centuries. And they've accumulated all the wealth in the world, and it's all piled up in their, somewhere where they've got it. And meanwhile, everybody else is in dire straits.
They actually went through a court proceedings to do this, didn't they?
Right, in Brussels, Belgium. I forget the name of it. But it's pretty, if the people, get behind this, then I think that's going to be part of this whole new awakening that's coming up of, tied in with the financial system and the revealing of all the, crimes and fraud that's been perpetrated on us, over the centuries. The people are waking up, and when the people wake up, they're not going to put up with it. And they're realizing they have power, like at the Bundy Ranch. They pulled the people, built up their confidence a little bit there that they can actually make the federal government back down. And
they're doing the same thing in Texas, where the BLM just arbitrarily took a man's land away from him because of the course of the river changed. And rather than going by the geological lines, they used the river change as an excuse to take his ranch away from him, which he is third generation rancher there, and his way of life.
Right.
Well, big things are happening. They're very subtle things. They seem to be minute in the locality that they occur, but consciousness is shifting. And one of the big things that we need to do is just keep Earth Mind and Oversoul, the Golden Grid, focused and resonating our thoughts and intent in dominion and our goodwill to everyone. Any comments on that? Mike, what do you see happening in the financial world?
Well, there's just a minute. Why don't you have somebody else, and I'll come back to me in a couple minutes.
All right. Any further comments? Anyone that has anything to share this morning, please do, because we still have 17 minutes.
Did Gary share the Fulford post with everyone in the group?
Yeah.
I sent a comment to Gary where Fulford says that the oligarchy here in the Americas, they're like frozen like a deer in the headlights, even though they have been given a deadline for their surrender. So I was asking Gary if maybe it would be acceptable for the group to give the deer a little push, get out of the road. But I don't know if that's violating their free will. So,
well, by spiritual law, anything that intrudes or violates our personal connection with the God force, or anything that tries to suppress us, kill us, put us down, control us in any way, we have the right and the permission to resist that. And the stronger force of resistance seems to be passive resistance, where you simply allow that energy to pass right on through without disturbing your peace, and resonating love and harmony back to them. They may take out the front lines, but they can't get all the way into the depths of us when we do that. So, meeting force with love and not with fear. That's what... Go ahead. Teresa, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I have something that I heard recently that enhances the way that we look at choice and free will. And the comment that was made was that there is a difference between decision and choices. And the example was, if you have a decision to make, it is, imagine if you have two piles, and there's pros and cons in each one. And so that already you're starting out with a reductive form. Things are taken away from. And so you look at pile A and pile B, and you end up deciding whether or not to pick pile A or pile B based on how high that pile is in the pros, let's say, or the fewer cons. And that's how you make a decision. And with choice, what we do is we just choose the light. And it makes it really very simple. to make right choice rather than deciding, let's say. So it was just a lovely little perspective on the difference between decisions and choices.
So one is intellectual, the other one is soul-inspired.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not good for one, it's not good.
That's a good thought. Because without judgment, we perceive that everyone has the potential of living in the light and making right choices. But the majority of the world at this time in third dimension has been so steeped in domination that that's the only thing they know. And when we try to bring essences of the light into them, they view us as being airy-fairy and no factual force or realism to what we talk about. But the fact is, it's what happens subtly is what's important. The obvious factors out there of domination that appear to control the world is just that. It's just a farce. It's false. It's a falsehood. It's the true state of dominion, which is what the earth was before humans arrived here, where everything has its opportunity to live its life out in full fruition and pass along, no matter what species it is. That's dominion. And that's, as long as we keep ourselves focused, I see it in the field of the right, positive, as opposed to the field on the left, negative. And that's the way everything is held in balance. But again, we need to recognize and acknowledge that the left hand has been the driving force that carried us through all those years of survival. And as we learned and grew and evolved to this point. And the unique thing in the long term is that this has been a training field where we have evolved consciousness and science and civilization to the point where we no longer have to live in survival. We can allow our frequency ranges to rise into higher levels above the heart, into the soul levels of consciousness, and therefore move into dominion, and everyone be responsible for everything and care for everything and nurture everything. And that's where we're at, is learning how to put that into active resonance out here in this physical world that's dominated, has been for centuries, by the opposition force. And you take every opportunity they can to suppress us, because it's quite obvious that if dominion wins, domination loses. But the realization on a deeper level is they're not really losing. They'll gain so much more when they come into that self-realization.
It's interesting you say that, because one of the things I realized this morning on this whole issue of, the cabal and everything that they're doing, and the article that Fulford, what he wrote, that they have been given a date for their surrender. And I thought, well, it's not that they're surrendering because they failed. I think they should surrender because they triumphed. I mean, for how many thousands of years have they kept the planet in bondage? And I think they were very successful at what they did. So it's not like they have to give up because they failed. I think it's just that they're so successful and triumphant, they can afford to stop and go play some other game somewhere else.
Very good.
This is Mike. Should I just make a couple of quick financial system comments? I think I'm going to do it today from the perspective of what can be seen, kind of what most people are seeing out there. It's hard to tell what's really going on. You can tell there are things going on behind the scenes, but just what I can see, from the perspective of maybe kind of an average person who's maybe not fully awake, but realizes that things are changing and there's something that's not quite right. You see there's open discussion about, there's an active open discussion in the mainstream media and even on the leading financial channel about whether the stock market is rigged. There's a lot of exposure about all these and by the time my viewpoint is by the time these negative scenarios get out to that point where they're being discussed on CNBC and then where they're bending over backwards to try and debunk or disclaim these things, it's a done deal already. It's out there. So people realize that there's just been, that there's been a huge illusion perpetrated over a long period of time. That knowledge is spreading much wider. There's, unfortunately appears to have been some suicide. There was actually a banker and his entire family got murdered over in Belgium in the last week. That actually was out in kind of mainstream news sources. And so, I think the man behind the curtain is being exposed. The bodies are starting to float to the surface. To Pyramid on Walt's comments, they've been so successful, quote successful, but in a way, they've taken it so far that it's reached the limits. They can't expand the delusion and the crime any further. It's time to rationalize, and there'll be some adjustment that has to be required, but it's kind of like I'll use the example of somebody with a chemical dependency problem where they that the booze worked great for 20 years, but now it's reached a limit, and we just have to acknowledge that it's time to change. And even though it's going to be a disruption and appear to be uncomfortable in the short term, the other side is so much better that there's no clear, there's clearly no question about it. So. How long they can kind of continue to go on, and how long, is an open question. But I see things being a lot different in the next 1 to 2 years. But whether it goes, whether we work through into probably some sort of a currency transition into a basket or of currencies and or on toward a something backed by tangibles, but. Certainly, I think that the days of the U.S. Government being able to dominate world affairs are over, and we're all the way I see it, as far as all of us, just on a practical level. I think people realize that we're going to have to come together at a community level. Everybody's going to have to put aside their mistaken prejudices and biases and self-centered focus, and realize that for us all to prosper, we're going to do it together, and those successes are going to come from the grassroots level up, and they are starting to come. So I'll just cut it off at that.
Well, I think you're right on in your comments. Also, Mike, can you update us on where we are in the RV process now?
I'm not the best one on that. I think because of the self-interest factor, I have had trouble with getting accurate dowsing results on that.
Is that fellow who writes on the internet, Zap, the one who's continued writing after the gentleman named Poofness passed away? Is he believable up to a point, or has anyone read his posts? I
kind of don't think that, this is just my bias, but I kind of don't think that anybody that's out there posting on the internet, particularly if they're affiliated with anybody that's providing services or selling services or running websites, I don't think any of them, I'd go all day, every day to somebody that's an enlightened person with abilities like dowsing or clairvoyance or something like that, and ask them what they can pick up, as opposed to trying to read anybody off the internet, because I got you. But I could be wrong.
Well, one of the things that I notice on the subject of domination versus dominion is that the key element of domination is control. And I find that control is self-canceling, because let's say, okay, you are the head of a big division in this domination business, and you have successfully controlled all the population that's under your command. That's fine, but then you have all the other divisions and all the other families doing the same thing. So once you're done controlling your folks, what else is left to control? Well, there's my homies over there that are doing their control. What if I control them and take over what they have? So control has become such an obsessive force that it just cancels itself, because there is no such thing as absolute control of anything. Having worked in the technical field for decades, it's one of those things that elude design engineers. How to make a perfect control system. There's no such thing as perfect control, because as everyone in this group is aware, consciousness is free and expanding. How do you control that? Impossible. Just leave it alone, let it grow, and let it expand, and all the pieces fit together perfectly, because it's like many people, I have heard other people use this term organized chaos. The universe looks chaotic, but it's nothing of the sort. Everything fits together so well, and it's just too vast for any one intellect to grasp.
Well, the day I want to see is when everybody realizes out here, everybody's scared, everybody's, been dominated by this kind of the debt slavery and financial dependence. But, if everybody just, if it's called a general strike and refused to go to work for a week, the corporate complex would be on its knees.
Exactly. Mike, for example, answer me this question. What would happen if not even 100% of the American population, let's say, I'll make up a number, 70% of the American population decided not to file their income tax? Are they going to send the army out to arrest everybody?
Probably already at 50, but yeah, that's right.
They're not going to go home to home arresting people for not filing. They're just going to have to throw their hands up in the air. They don't have the wherewithal to go around. But we go to the slaughterhouse because we've been programmed. Oh, if you don't file, they're going to fall on you like a house of bricks, and they're going to take everything that you own.
Even though there's really no law that compels the average person to voluntarily file a return of tax. Yeah, it's a giant brainwashing organization. But it's I don't know what the exact percentage is, but there have been incidents in the past where people got upset about something and called a consumer boycott. And it was in a specific sector. It was a few years ago. But if 20 or 25% of the national population went on some sort of a strike, and we're not going to movies, we're not going to sports events, we're not going to watch your network television, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. That would put would put enough of a hurting on them that they would have to start trying to affect change, or they'd have to surrender something, or I think the statistic is it was about 7 to 9% of the U.S. population that when they flipped over on prohibition, that reversed prohibition.
I'm going to have to drop away, guys, go to another show. You can continue with this. I think we're open-ended this morning, so please continue.
Do we need to get off here, Dave, or not?
What we'll do is we'll simply cease the recording, and I will play something else while you guys talk.
If you got something to broadcast, we can always go over to our Stellar group, but whatever works best.
What do you guys want this morning?
Well, let's scoot over to Stellar, and then it's done.
Okay. I'll start us back up in a minute.
Okay.
Thanks for making the decision, Teresa.
Goodbye, everyone.
Okay.
Bye-bye, Frank.
Bye. See you later, Frank.
Good day.